What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Mandalorian episode breakdown. And wow, us Star Wars fans are feasting today. I know last week I said that the Ahsoka episode was my favourite, but holy heck, the return of Boba and that moment where he drops down in full armour, well, that absolutely got me. I've said it and I will say it again. This is pure distilled Star Wars, like the real Star Wars. And while yes, I enjoyed Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, there is no movie in between them. It does not exist. This is like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have incepted my mind and taken all of the things that I wanted for Star Wars and slapped it on the screen. The episode opened with a very twee moment, with Grogu, as I will now be referring to him henceforth, holding the ball that goes on, well, I'll call that a gear stick for the lack of a better term. Do ships have gears? I don't know. We learned last week that Grogu's connection to the Force is at an all-time low, and sadly, it's unlikely he will be able to learn his powers fully, which is a complete shame. Well, that's what Ahsoka said. Din is training with him, and it's so cute how he keeps saying his name Grogu and then just laughing to himself when Grogu responds. He's like, oh, hello. However, as we know, Grogu is scared and has a bit of anger in him, which of course we know leads to the dark side, as Ahsoka hinted at, and we saw a bit of that at the end of the episode. But I will talk about that later in this video. So they reach Tython and have to have the windows down, which is essentially riding my jetpack, which was so very, very cute. Tython has an ancient Jedi temple that was used in the Galactic Civil War and is now little more than a tiny little ruin, something like we would see in something like the Jedi The Fallen Order or Jedi Academy. Hands up who's waiting for Cal Kestis to turn up. He arrives and places little Grogu on the stone, ready for it to be activated. I loved how he's like, huh? Why is it not working? Like a true dad trying to get the TV working, and reminds me of Ozzy Osbourne in his reality show, The Osbournes. However, something big happens as Slave 1 arrives. I mean, wait, what? Well, we all sort of assumed that Boba Fett had been living a nomad life on Tatooine after escaping the Sarlacc pit. I mean, wouldn't they have just sold his ship as it must have had a load of parking fines? I guess he got it back in the same manner as his armor, is similar to when Snake in The Simpsons wanted his car back. Slave 1 drives on premium, dude, premium. Grogu has gone full force as he's sitting there and meditating and going like that galaxy brain sort of enlightenment meme when Boba turns up and attacks Mando to get his armor back. Now, Boba has come to collect and even references his father Jango, who was and still blows my mind, literally, that he was decapitated by Mace Windu, and young Boba just picks up their helmet with his dad's head in it in the Attack of the Clones. Now, my theory is that Mace Windu is alive, so imagine if he was the one who finds Grogu and we get a throwdown between them. Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. We learn that Boba has a sniper trained on Grogu as he goes full galaxy brain, but this is Fennec Shand. Ming-Na Wen is back, and I'm very happy to see her to return after the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has ended. She now has a sort of a robot torso and survived last season. The theory was true that it was Boba Fett who saved her. Jango was also confirmed to be a Mandalorian and not just a guy with Mando armor. Yes, that is crazy, and my headcanon here is that the people who were making the clones were aligned with the Jedi and Obi-Wan, and they kind of said that he was just a guy with armor, and they wanted to save face here as they just had a civil war. Of course, Obi-Wan was involved in that. I'll mention that a bit later, and I think they wanted to save face despite Jango having so many Jedi kills. We have a standoff as Din doesn't think Boba is a true Mandalorian and the armor was stolen from his people, and Boba says that he has no allegiance or creed. Let's not forget that Din is actually a cultist and part of the cult that is a continuation of the Death's Watch, the group that Bo-Katan was in during the Clone Wars, wanting to return Mandalore to their true warrior ways. Obviously, your boy Mando has the armor, but they make a deal as stormtroopers arrive in a dropship. It looks very similar to that of the First Order dropship we see in The Force Awakens. Here, we can hopefully see the hints of the First Order actually being born and things like that. Yes, these theories, I hopefully come true. Fennec and Boba will protect the child in exchange for Boba's armor. Fennec also has a life debt, and these debts are strong, as we see at the end of the episode, as the debt to protect the child is still ongoing, despite Boba getting his armor. Now, Din tries to get Grogu to snap out of it, but it doesn't work. While the episode was titled The Tragedy, I was personally expecting the flashback of Grogu leaving the temple after Anakin's massacre, but the tragedy was Grogu being stolen and being pushed to the dark side, which is a shame, as they are all now under heavy fire. Robert Rodriguez did a stellar job directing this episode, and it is one of the best looking after last week, which had some beautiful shots. But the action with the Stormtroopers was very good, and it makes me long to see a live-action Clone Trooper series, and it looked better than the new Disney trilogy, and I have high hopes for the Bad Batch series, a group of clones that was spun off from the Clone Wars show. The single best moment of this episode was, of course, Boba returning to the fight, just as it all seemed lost as Fennec and Din fight. Boba Fett cleans house with his armor, and it was a beautiful sight to behold. After all these years, a live-action, armor-clad Boba Fett is back. Of course, we had his younger version there in the Clone Wars, so you can go back and check that out if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, and I highly recommend watching that on Disney+. It looked amazing, however, as the Stormtroopers retreat and Boba does the Iron Man fire and forget and blows up 2 troop carriers, doing his best Rey Skywalker impression. The Razor's crest is destroyed, yet unlucky to those of you who bought the figure or the Lego set. Moff Gideon then sends his Dark Troopers that we saw a couple of episodes ago, and it was beyond cool seeing them in live action after, of course, them being featured in the Dark Forces game, even if it was just a zoom down to get Grogu and they dip. But Boba warns them in the Slave One that the Empire is back, but the Outer Rim is New Republic territory. Personally, I think the Empire are planning to take the Outer Rim under the guidance of Thrawn, who is in the unknown regions, as Moff Gideon retreats to hyperspace. Yes, I think that is going to be a big thing, and it's going to be similar to what we're getting in the books and what Thrawn was doing before the fall of the Empire. Now, only the Beskar staff has survived, which is of course a prelude to Din using it to fight against the Darksaber, as Boba says how he's chain coding his armor and how it provides his credentials that his father was a foundling and fought in the Mandalorian Civil War. This was between the new Mandalorians and the traditional Mandalorians. The new ones wanted peace and lived in a domed city of Sundari as the planet was ravaged. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan were sent there to protect Duchess Satine Kryze, the sister of Bo-Katan, from the traditionalists. Of course, those traditionalists were or at least Din's predecessors there. New Mandalorians won in the end, but a second civil war during the Clone Wars would erupt. Boba is now with Mando, and I imagine the Slave One is pretty cramped there. We yet again return to Tatooine, and Cara Dune, everyone's favourite anti-masker, is a marshal of the New Republic and doing their bidding to protect the Outer Rim, and Din says that he wants to spring Mayfield, the guy from last season. Yes, the same person he calls to be put in jail, and played by Bo Burnham, which was one of my favourite episodes of the season. There is also a blink and you'll miss it shot of Nick Frost. Shout out to Paul of Heavy Spoilers for noticing that in his video. Cara has her reservations, but when it's mentioned the child has been taken, of course she will now help. We then cut to the ship, and Grogu is going very dark side of the Force choking stormtroopers, and it seems like Ahsoka was right for him. Moff Gideon says that he's come on well with his powers, either hinting he took him from the Jedi Temple, or he was being trained by the Empire in the dark side, as they need a dark Jedi's blood to create Snoke and clone Sidious. Moff Gideon is sending a message to Pershing as well to get the cloning up and running. Now, next week should be a big episode. The crew will go and bust out Bo Burnham's character. And I don't know if they'll go straight on to fight Moff Gideon there. It's unsure. But let's not forget that the stone that Grogu sat on was supposed to lure a Jedi. So my top theories for that Jedi is Cal Kestis, Luke Skywalker, and Mace Windu. Mara Jade is an outside theory and incredibly unlikely. So I think when all of the chips are down, we will have a big return from a Jedi, and I'll be very excited to see that. But that is it for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Chat with me there. All things Mandalorian. My main video will be up tomorrow. It's quite of a big one. It's almost 20 minutes long, I think, just the recording. But I look forward to seeing you over there tomorrow for that video. Please drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on. And I'll see you soon. And goodbye.